Have you ever considered that the way you sleep tonight could determine whether you wake up feeling refreshed or don't wake up at all? I know that might sound extreme, but hear me out. Each night, millions of people go to bed believing they're giving their brains a chance to rest. But what if, instead of promoting healing, their brains are slowly being deprived of oxygen, simply because of how their head rests on the pillow? Let me ask you this. Have you ever woken up with a strange numbness in your arm, a pounding headache, or unexplained dizziness? Maybe you chalked it up to aging or a bad dream. But what if your sleeping position was silently pressing on key arteries, reducing blood flow to your brain, and gradually increasing your risk of stroke? I'm not here to frighten you, but as someone who has dedicated years to studying the brain, I've seen far too many patients suffer, not because of what they did while awake, but because of how they slept. In this video, we're going to uncover the most dangerous sleeping positions, habits that may have been part of your nightly routine for decades without you realizing they could be harming your health. But we won't stop there. You'll also learn how small changes in your sleep posture can protect not only your brain but your heart, and ultimately your future. If you or someone you care about is over the age of 60, this might be the wake-up call that changes everything. Comment with a 1 if you sleep on your side, or a 0 if you sleep on your back or stomach. And don't forget to subscribe to Elderly Health Tips. We're here to help keep your brain sharp and your body strong. Now, let's dive into the first sleep habit that might be doing more harm than good. Let's begin with a sleeping position that may seem completely harmless, but can be quietly dangerous. Sleeping on one side all night without switching positions. It may feel comfortable, especially if it's become second nature over the years. But here's what most people don't realize. Staying on one side too long can compress the carotid artery on that side of your neck. This artery is one of the main highways that carries blood to your brain. If it's squished for hours at a time, the brain on that side might not receive the oxygen it needs. I once had a patient, a 67-year-old woman, who always slept on her side. Nearly every morning, she'd wake up with tingling in one arm and numbness on one side of her face. She assumed it was just poor circulation. But when we scanned her neck, we discovered plaque buildup in that carotid artery, just enough that, when she slept on it all night, her blood flow dropped significantly. She was at serious risk of a stroke, all because of a sleeping position he thought was safe. Even if you don't have any arterial blockages, lying on one side for too long can still impact your circulation and nerves. You might notice your arm goes numb more easily or your hip aches more on that side. These are warning signs. So what should you do? Try alternating sides throughout the night, or place a supportive pillow behind your back to help prevent staying stuck in one position. If you sleep with a partner, ask them to gently nudge you if you've been lying the same way for too long. Now, let's look at another common habit. One that seems as simple as your pillow height, but could be causing morning dizziness. You might love that fluffy, high pillow that cradles your head just right. But if it's too tall, it could be bending your neck in a way that restricts blood flow to the brain. More specifically, it can compress the vertebral arteries that run through your spine and feed the brainstem. Picture this. Your head tilted forward for 7 or 8 hours straight, like staring down at your phone all night. That's exactly what a high pillow does to your neck. The result? You may wake up dizzy, lightheaded, or in a mental fog. One of my patients, a 72-year-old woman who adored her thick memory foam pillow, kept waking up feeling like the room was spinning. She assumed it was vertigo. But once we adjusted her pillow to a lower, more neutral height, just enough to keep her head aligned with her spine, those dizzy mornings nearly vanished. And the risk becomes even greater if you already have narrowing in the arteries of your neck or issues with your cervical spine, both of which become more common as we age. That extra angle created by a high pillow puts extra stress on areas that are already vulnerable. Think of it like bending a garden hose. Water can still get through, but just barely. So, what can you do about it? Choose a pillow that supports the natural curve of your neck without forcing your chin down toward your chest. A simple way to check is by lying on your back and seeing if your nose lines up with your sternum. If your chin dips too far downward, your pillow is likely too thick. Okay, Now that we've addressed pillow height, let's move on to a sleeping position many people use without realizing it could reduce the amount of oxygen reaching their brain during sleep. Picture this. You're curled up tightly, knees drawn to your chest, head tucked forward. It feels cozy, maybe even safe. That's the classic fetal position. While it might remind you of the comfort of the womb, it can actually restrict oxygen flow to your body and, most importantly, to your brain while you sleep. When you curl up that tightly, you compress your chest cavity, which limits how much your lungs can expand. That means less oxygen gets into your bloodstream, and ultimately, less oxygen reaches your brain. And if you're also using a pillow that's too high, forcing your neck even further forward, you're doubling the impact on circulation. I worked with a 68-year-old woman who always slept tightly curled on her side. Each morning, she woke up with numb fingers and spells of dizziness. We tried various solutions, diet changes, better hydration, but nothing worked until she changed how she slept. She switched to a flatter pillow and used a small cushion between her knees to help her maintain a more relaxed, open posture. Within a week, the numbness vanished. Sleeping in a tightly curled position can also compress nerves, which may explain the pins and needle sensations in your hands or feet. If you've ever woken up feeling like your arm isn't even part of your body, this could be the reason. To improve this, try lying on your side with gentle bend in your knees rather than curling into a tight ball. Support your back with a pillow, and make sure your head stays aligned with your spine. You don't need to lie stiff like a soldier. Just open up enough to give your lungs and blood vessels room to function properly. Now, let's talk about a surprising mistake many people make, even when they sleep on their back, and how it can quietly lead to headaches and disrupted sleep. Sleeping on your back is often recommended as the healthiest position, and in many ways that's true. But there's one big catch. If your neck isn't supported properly, even this ideal position can cause problems. When your pillow doesn't support the natural curve of your neck, your head may tip backward or roll to the side. That creates constant, subtle pressure on the small blood vessels at the base of your skull. Vessels that play a key role in regulating blood flow to brain areas that control balance, sleep, and coordination. If these vessels are strained or compressed throughout the night, it can result in morning headaches, dizziness, or poor sleep quality. Some of my patients assumed they had chronic insomnia, but the real cause was poor neck alignment triggering micro-awakenings during the night. One man in his early 70s had been sleeping on his back with a flat pillow that allowed his head to drop backward. He always woke up tired, with tension at the base of his skull. When we replaced his pillow with one designed for cervical support, just enough to keep his neck and head in line, his headaches began to fade and his sleep quality improved dramatically. So, if you sleep on your back, take a moment to evaluate your pillow. Feel whether your head is truly aligned with your spine. A contoured pillow that supports the natural curve of your neck can make a big difference, especially if you've ever dealt with poor circulation, headaches, or mini strokes. Next, let's examine a sleeping position that's not just risky for your brain, but also for your heart and lungs. It's one many people default to, especially if they have back pain, but it can actually be one of the worst positions for brain health. Sleeping on your stomach. While it might feel like it relieves pressure on your back, the trade-off is significant, particularly for your neck, heart, and lungs. When you sleep on your stomach, your head has to twist to one side and stay in that position for hours. That continuous twisting can compress the carotid artery, the main blood vessel that supplies your brain with oxygen-rich blood. I had a patient in his mid-60s who always slept on his stomach, thinking it helped with his snoring. But over time, he began to experience chest tightness in the mornings and a persistent foggy feeling in his head. After full evaluation, we found that his stomach sleeping habit was not only straining his neck, but also limiting his breathing. His blood pressure was elevated, and oxygen flow to his brain during sleep was lower than normal. This position also compresses your chest, making it harder for your lungs to fully expand. Less air means less oxygen in your bloodstream, and less oxygen reaching your brain. For anyone with high blood pressure or hardened arteries, this can significantly raise the risk of stroke. If you absolutely can't give up stomach sleeping, try placing a thin pillow under your hips and avoid using a pillow, or use a very flat one under your head. Better still, Train yourself to sleep on your back or side. It might take some time, but your brain and heart will be better off for it. Finally, let's talk about a surprisingly dangerous habit, one that may seem harmless, even comforting, but could actually turn your bed into a hidden hazard for your brain during the night. Here it is, sleeping with your head completely under the blanket. It might feel warm and secure, especially on a chilly night, but it could quietly be putting your brain at risk. But when you pull the blankets over your head, you're creating a pocket of stale air, trapping the carbon dioxide you exhale and blocking access to fresh oxygen. It turns your bed into a mini greenhouse of recycled air, exactly the type of environment your brain doesn't want when it's supposed to be resting and repairing. I once spoke with a 72-year-old man who had a habit of covering his head with a blanket during winter. He said it helped him fall asleep faster. But every morning, he woke up groggy, slow, and mentally foggy. When we measured the air quality in his room and under the blanket, the CO2 levels were much higher beneath the covers. His brain had been working overtime through the night, struggling to function with limited oxygen. Low oxygen levels or hypoxia can cause your blood to thicken and increase the risk of clot formation, especially while sleeping, when circulation naturally slows. This raises the risk of nighttime strokes. On top of that, elevated carbon dioxide levels can interfere with sleep quality and lead to headaches or mental confusion upon waking. To stay warm and safe, try using layered blankets, but make sure your nose and mouth stay uncovered and exposed to fresh air. If your room is chilly, consider using a heated mattress pad or a breathable wool blanket instead of pulling the covers over your face. Your brain needs oxygen more than it needs extra warmth. Now, let's take a closer look at another habit that seems harmless, but could quietly be affecting your circulation, especially in older adults: falling asleep in your favorite recliner. There's something undeniably relaxing, even luxurious, about nodding off in a recliner, whether it's during a late-night movie or an afternoon nap. Many people find themselves drifting off in that cozy seat. But regularly sleeping in a semi-sitting position, especially night after night, can silently increase the risk of developing blood clots, particularly for those over 60. Here's why. When your legs remain lower than your heart for hours at a time, gravity causes blood to pool in your lower limbs. This slower circulation makes it easier for clots to form in the deep veins, a condition known as deep vein thrombosis (DVT). If a clot dislodges and travels to your lungs or brain, the consequences can be life-threatening. I remember a 75-year-old patient who chose to sleep in his recliner nightly due to chronic back pain. He found it more comfortable than lying flat. But after a few months, he developed swelling in his left leg and began experiencing shortness of breath. Scans revealed a clot had formed in his calf and had moved to his lungs. He was shocked to learn that his recliner had played a role. Even if you feel fine, this position can reduce the return of blood to the heart and brain, decreasing oxygen supply and subtly raising stroke risk over time. It's especially risky if you're sitting still for long periods without moving your legs. If you must nap in a recliner, limit it to short intervals. Use a footrest to elevate your legs, and flex your ankles or shift positions every 30 minutes. But for long, restorative sleep, your best option is still your bed, flat, well-supported, and built for recovery. Let's move on to another hidden concern, one that has to do with which side you sleep on. It may sound surprising, but not all side sleeping is equally beneficial. While sleeping on your left side may offer some health advantages, consistently sleeping on your right side could actually do more harm than good. Your body isn't perfectly symmetrical, and how you position yourself during sleep affects the flow of blood and other fluids, especially in your brain. When you sleep on your right side for extended periods, it increases pressure on the inferior vena cava, the large vein that carries blood back to your heart. That pressure can slightly reduce circulation, including the amount of blood flowing up to your brain. But what's more alarming is what happens inside your brain. Research suggests that sleeping on your right side may impair the brain's lymphatic system, the waste-clearing network that removes toxins during sleep. One study from Stony Brook University found that rodents sleeping on their right side had slower clearance of harmful proteins linked to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. A 69-year-old patient of mine had always preferred her right side. Over time, she began noticing memory slips and mental fogginess. After consulting with her neurologist, she made the switch, gradually transitioning to her left side with the help of a body pillow. Within just a few weeks, she reported better clarity and fewer lapses. If you're a habitual right side sleeper, consider alternating sides or using pillows to help your body stay in a more balanced position. Supporting your top leg and shoulder can make the left side just as cozy as the right. Now, let's look at yet another hidden danger, one that combines cold air and lack of neck support, a combination that can quietly reduce your brain's oxygen supply while you sleep. Have you ever dozed off in a chilly room without giving it much thought? Many people actually prefer cool environments for sleep, and it's true that a slightly lower temperature can promote better rest. But when that cool room is paired with poor neck support, it can quietly disrupt circulation and increase your risk of stroke. Here's how. Cold air causes your blood vessels to constrict, a natural way for the body to retain heat. But when this constriction happens near your neck and head, it can limit the amount of oxygen-rich blood reaching the brain. And if your neck isn't well supported, those same blood vessels may also be stretched or compressed, further impeding blood flow. I had a 67-year-old patient who loved sleeping by an open window, even in the middle of winter, but she often woke up with a stiff neck and throbbing headaches. Once she added neck support and warmed her room just a few degrees, her symptoms started to ease. The lesson here is balance. A room that's too cold, combined with poor sleeping posture, becomes a quiet threat overnight. Your muscles tense, your circulation slows, and your brain doesn't get the oxygen it needs. To stay safe, aim for a bedroom temperature around 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 degrees Celsius. If you tend to get cold, try a light scarf or a soft neck wrap. Most importantly, make sure your pillow supports your cervical spine. Your neck should feel gently cradled, not bent or strained. Sleep isn't just rest. It's when your brain does some of its most critical work, repairing tissue, flushing toxins, consolidating memories, and restoring function. But here's what many people overlook. The way you sleep can either support the healing process or silently interfere with it. The angle of your neck, the position of your head, even which side you sleep on. These things matter far more than most people realize. The best part? You're in control. Small changes, like using the right pillow, switching sides, or avoiding common sleep mistakes, can make a huge difference in protecting your brain. So tonight, before you drift off, do a quick self-check. Is your neck supported? Are you breathing freely? Is your spine aligned? These simple, quiet adjustments might be your best defense against stroke, memory issues, and waking up feeling off. If even one of these tips helped you, drop a 1 in the comments to let us know. And don't forget to subscribe to Elderly Health Tips for more brain-smart sleep strategies to help you age stronger, live better, and protect your most important organ, your brain. Sleep well, friend. You've earned it.